Hello. Thanks for taking the time to join our conversation today. I would like to give you a short overview of methods for critical thinking. What you're going to see today is really not taught in any formal educational program, even at the college level. A couple of the topics that I'll cover, there are 5 or 6, are introduced in law school, in trial advocacy, where young law students learn how to present a case to a judge and jury. But my objective is to share with you a variety of tools that you can use to break down complex topics, gain understanding, and move to a decision with tested methods that will lead you to the best possible outcome. And the real insight is, if you don't have any method for analyzing information or situations, particularly where it's complex or highly dynamic, you'll tend to use analysis by egg beater, right? Grab whatever is easy or whatever seems obvious. I want to equip you with several different approaches so that, just like picking the right tool out of the toolbox or the right utensil out of the silverware drawer, you have the most appropriate tool based on the situation and what you need to get out of it. So let's start first with the simple one. We'll talk about inductive versus deductive analysis. You can think in a courtroom of the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney, where the prosecuting attorney will take the evidence presented and attempt to determine a single outcome or conclusion. And this is exactly what you do. You analyze the evidence and you attempt to determine if there's one trend, one theme, one outcome that makes sense based on your analysis. That's inductive reasoning, okay? Whereas the defense attorney will take the same body of information and attempt to find exceptions that detract from the conclusion or assertion presented. That's deductive. So you are deducting facts from the body of evidence so as to determine whether it is false, or whether it doesn't make sense, or whether there's some other conclusion that should be arrived at. That's deductive reasoning. Moving along from deductive and inductive methods, we get the decision tree. This is frequently used in argument, where you have, again, that inductive-deductive split, and then you can go into valid or invalid arguments, strong and weak arguments, etc. This, I think, is a really interesting model for dissecting the particular mode of discussion that is being followed, right? And it's interesting to note that decision trees can help us arrive at important insights, even when there's comparatively little hard data to back them up. In other words, you can lay out your method before you have data to support it, and then fill it in and adjust the probabilities accordingly. And we'll get into that a little later about the probabilities of each branch in the tree. The factor analysis risk model. I'm a risk guy. Risk is all about this decision tree, which is based on frequency and the magnitude of the potential loss or event, frequently used in cybersecurity and insurance actuarial assessment. Okay, moving along, let's talk about Occam's razor, named for William of Occam, who actually may have been William Shakespeare. William of Occam wrote basically the rule of parsimony, and he describes it here, but the simplest explanation is that when you have multiple possibilities, okay, again, now we're going with more than 2 branches. When you have multiple possibilities to explain the same phenomenon, you should try to prefer the simplest, okay, unless there's some other compelling reason not to do so. This is commonly used in criminal investigations, sometimes in cybersecurity, and so forth. So a very important method to understand. The 8D method is another one. It's more complex, but it is kind of linear, and it actually is similar to the continuous improvement or incident management model in 27001, where you use a team, develop an accurate problem statement. To me, this is the most important step. Get an accurate problem statement. Then develop a containment plan, like going back to the NIST 800-63, which, contain, remediate, and resolve. Okay. Determine and verify the root causes, identify your permanent corrections and put them in place, confirm that they are effective, and then finally acknowledge and congratulate your team. I would add to that at the bottom, write a comprehensive report that said what happened, what you did, and how you tested it to validate that the event will not occur again. Okay, this is actually my favorite one. This is called the OODA Loop. And if we look at the world around us, particularly in sports, but other things too, we'll find that there's a very few people in the world who are at the absolute pinnacle of their sport or their practice. Okay, I have Steve Jobs here, but there's also Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods, Steffi Graf. These people were far above any of their peers. And what makes them special? What sets them apart in their chosen field? And it turns out that at the end of World War II, in the Battle of Britain, somebody noticed that 6 pilots, 3 on the German side, 3 on the English side, had shot down about 90% of the planes. They had scored 90% of the kills in what is probably the ultimate Darwinian dogfight, air-to-air dogfight environment, right? Air-to-air combat. And there was some effort undertaken to determine what it was that set those 6 pilots apart. And they thought it was an eyesight, was a train. And yeah, those are all helpful. Each of the people in the previous slide, they're well trained, they're in the best possible shape, but there is something special that they have that their competitors did not. And what it is situational awareness. They actually have an awareness of the game, whatever it is, how the play is being set up, the dynamics of the golf ball in flight. They have some special insight that others don't, and it lets them truly play at a different level. I believe this is a key determinant of your effectiveness in whether you're trying to contain a cybersecurity event, whether you're trying to make a technical or scientific breakthrough. This is really, really important. And even more importantly, lack of situational awareness, where you don't understand what is going on, is a known causal factor in things like airplane crashes, nuclear power plant meltdowns like 3 Mile Island, et cetera. So maintaining your situational awareness, especially in highly dynamic situations, is key. This is the model. This is the model. And as we progress through the model from left to right, we see that we take in new information, we compare it to what's in the blue box. These are called our priors. I'll get to that in a minute. Our priors are legal and regulatory environment, tradition, known constraints, things like that. These are our priors. And then we develop a hypothesis. And what if I do this? And then you do it and you note what happens, okay? And then take that action and the result and feed it back into the beginning to observe again. And so you perform this iterative loop with feedback that leads you to hopefully a successful outcome. Smart people will say, well, gee, I do that already. And I agree, you probably do. But seeing it presented graphically like this, I believe, will help you to do it more effectively. Final point, the faster you can iterate your OODA loop, and this comes straight out of the military, the faster you can iterate your OODA loop and continue to take in, evaluate, take action and observe, and then refine your activity, the more likely you are to prevail in a situation. Think about in cybersecurity, for example, where you're trying to get ahead of the attacker that is probing your network or deploying the malware. So this is a really interesting analytical method. The last one I'll show today is what's called the Bayesian inferential method. And there's some fancy math behind this related to probability, but I'll narrow it down here, just make it as simple as possible. That is, when you have multiple possibilities for what might be going on, whether it's an observed event or whatever, you should try to assign a probability of 20%, 30%, 40% to each, again, branch in the tree, each possibility, right? So in the example presented here, what are UFOs? Are they optical illusions? Are they spaceships from another planet? Is it a secret government program? Is it something else entirely? And the sum of all those possibilities as you evaluate them sums to 100%. And then, thanks to your OODA loop from the previous slide, when you take in new information, evaluate it, and you assign it to one of these possibilities, that decrements the other ones accordingly. And that lets you home in on what is the most likely outcome. So that's the Bayesian inferential method. I'd like to just leave you with another idea called conceptual snowmobiling. It sounds funny, but it talks about how the snowmobile, which is a strange looking thing that does something no other machine can do, it can travel quickly on snow. And the snowmobile is a true cross-disciplinary solution that is made up of unrelated parts from different disciplines. It has an engine from a motorboat. It has skis. It has treads from a bulldozer and handlebars from a bicycle. See how it drew from multiple different disciplines? Well, in the same way, if we use insights from multiple disciplines, okay, to arrive at solutions to the problems we are trying to solve or the insights we're seeking, it can lead to real breakthroughs where plain old linear thinking and overanalysis will tend to fail. And that's the end of my TED Talk. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed presenting this material to you. And please reach out if you have questions. Love to talk about it. Okay, thank you very much.